Americans to sue the Saudi government over the 9/11 attacks. The senators voted for the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism bill, but they say they're worried it could expose U.S. soldiers and diplomats to similar lawsuits in other countries. Patty Colhane reports.
The bill is passed. The objections of the president.
A cheer of excitement in the gallery of the U.S. House of Representatives. Families of the victims of the 9/11 attacks there to see the U.S. Congress say they can now sue the government of Saudi Arabia. Kathy Owens was in the crowd. She lost her husband, Peter.
The people who financed 9/11 have still been not brought to justice. They're walking around free as birds, conducting business as usual.
She believes that the government of Saudi Arabia knew of the attack, or at the very least, turned a blind eye. And for 15 years, she has been pressuring the U.S. Congress to change the law that kept her and many others from suing for damages.
Are there any senators in the chamber wishing to vote or to change their vote?
The Congress passed that law, but U.S. President Barack Obama vetoed it. Now, for the first time in his entire presidency, the Congress has overruled his veto.
If the Saudi government had no involvement in 9/11, it has nothing to fear. But if it was culpable, it should be held accountable.
The Obama administration argued this could hurt every U.S. worker overseas, that foreign countries could sue Americans in response.
The concern is that this starts a series of unintended consequences that will increase the risk to U.S. military personnel around the world, U.S. intelligence community personnel around the world, and diplomats around the world.
That didn't convince the vast majority, so now it is the law of the land, but with a catch. The administration can tell the court to stay out of it indefinitely.
And I think because the U.S. executive branch has expressed every interest in wanting to keep these claims out of court because of the diplomatic consequences that arise, I think we should fully expect that they will be asking the court to stay proceedings. As soon as proceedings have been stayed, they can in fact be stayed indefinitely, provided the U.S. government continues to say it's in good faith negotiations with the government of Saudi Arabia.
The government of Saudi Arabia has always insisted it had no role in the 9/11 attacks. They had threatened to sell off hundreds of billions of dollars of U.S. bonds and assets if this bill became law. We were unable to reach anyone at the Saudi embassy in Washington to find out if they plan to make good on that threat. But because of the way this law is written, it's unlikely they'll have a reason to, at least for now. Patty Colhane, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Well, let's get the view from Saudi Arabia now. Khaled Batarfi is a senior columnist with the Saudi Gazette newspaper. He joins us live from Jeddah. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Some reports say Saudi Arabia's government had threatened to liquidate some U.S. assets if this bill was passed, that there would be retaliatory measures, if you will. So the question is, will there be, and what sort of reaction can we expect from Saudi Arabia then?
Well, the reaction will come not just from Saudi investors, whether they are state investors or private investors, but I believe will come from any investor from any part of the world, because this is dangerous, President. Now China could be sued next time, or France or Japan or any country can be sued in the United States, and their investment could be frozen as long as there is court procedures, and this court procedures could go for years, and that's only natural that Saudi investors will withdraw if at all possible. Some investment is not possible, but if there is liquidity, they will be taken out, and future investment will be withheld. And we all know that we are about to start a new fund with $2 trillion, and the United States was #1 market targeted for this investment. Now, I think there will be a review of all these plans, and I don't think the United States is any safe now.
A review of the business deals, you say. Do you think today Saudi Arabia, the Saudi government, does it feel it can still count on the U.S.? Does it, in fact, still want to count on the United States?
Sorry, the question I didn't hear.
The question is, do you feel the Saudi government, does the Saudi government feel it can still count on the United States? Does it still want to count on Washington?
Well, we know that those who took the decision are not the United States government per se, but the Congress. And the Congress have always taken stands against Arab interest and Saudi Arabia and others in the Arab and Muslim world. So I believe the relationship with the United States government administration would continue, because there is a lot of things at stake here. But we are talking economically. I think the Saudi Arabia and any other investors in the world will be very careful not to invest in the United States anymore.
But you say the relationship will continue, but to what extent? I mean, we all know that the relationship has been somewhat strained in recent months, in recent years, over the Iran nuclear deal, for instance. How strained are they? Do you think it's just a rough patch? Are they going to, keep going? And is it going to be a strong relationship, most importantly?
Well, Saudi Arabia had diversified recently in the recent years, and they are building also alliances with other superpowers in the world, with the European, with especially France and Britain, with China, with Russia, with India, with South Africa, with Brasilia, Argentina. So we are diversifying, and I believe this trend will continue away from the alliance with the United States. It still be there. We cannot change that very much, but we can also balance our acts and balance our investments and relationships and partnerships with the rest of the world.
Khaled Batarfi, very good to get your thoughts on this. Thank you very much for joining us. Khaled Batarfi is a senior columnist with the Saudi Gazette, live there from Jeddah. Thank you. Afghanistan's government has signed a peace deal with Hezb-e-Islami, the country's second largest armed group. The agreement follows 2 years of a national unity government that made two former political rivals co-leaders. Now, while the deal shows progress, Afghanistan is still facing daunting challenges, as Jennifer Glass reports from Kabul.
The agreement is a step to closing a difficult chapter in Afghanistan's history. Hezb-e-Islami is